The challenge of creating a super flagship closed back pair of headphones is not only difficult, but there are a myriad of technicalities and situations that you have to overcome. Most importantly, this is usually due to the environment that the drivers are set in. Not only that, but making it efficient and being able to rival the headphones in the category it sits in is a tall order. This headphone is a first on this channel from this company, the Dan Clark Audio Stealth, a $4,000 super flagship closed-back headphone that is planning to rival LCD5 open-back, Susvaras, and a myriad of other headphones. Has it succeeded? Let's begin. A special and heartfelt thank you to Dan Clark for sending this unit in for review. It was a great pleasure meeting you at Munich. I loved our chat. We sat down and had a deep, in-depth talk about frequency response measurements and how the objective and the subjective in regards to headphones and how it pervades our forums and our thought processes. I highly recommend checking out the video here at the timestamps shown down below, the Munich high-end documentary. If you're a long-time viewer of the channel, you know we have reviewed the Focal Stellia, the MEZE Audio Liric, etc. We've done quite a few closebacks. They have all been pretty much fantastic because I exclusively chose them for those reasons for reviews, because they were out of the ordinary, but they were not quite on the levels of Utopia, Susvara and LCD5. Making that kind of claim and performance is very difficult. So this has stated it's achieved it. So let's have a look together. This box is very luxurious feeling. We are talking about a $4,000 headphone, and it definitely matches that with this beautiful etched metal numbering and plating and numbers and names and things. It looks beautiful, genuinely. And it's packaged really well with this velvet underlining. Very compact headphone. Wow, that is a lot smaller than the Stellia box. This is something you can throw in a backpack. Already a very good start. Velvet interior and foamy foams. As you can see, first and foremost, doing a hardware tour around the headphones themselves. This is constructed of protein leather pads, carbon fiber covers, machined aluminium housing, and these original Mr. Speakers Dan Clark Audio tiny and thin arching spring headband with the head strap here nestled underneath. This head strap is very thick, very substantial. This is actually even more thicker than the ZMF stuff. With these inlaid bubble sections, so that you don't get any hot spots, the headphones themselves don't rotate forward and backwards 180 degrees, but they do have some tension, and you can actually move this any way you want, like this, and it obviously folds and just folds inside itself like that. The connections at the bottom of the cups is the Dan Clark Audio proprietary Heroza? Herozi? I don't think I'm pronouncing that right. Anyway, it's the 4-pin connections like the Limo connectors you get with the Aperio we review here, or the Focal Utopias. It's a very sturdy connector. It's got this spring-loaded action where it just clicks into place. I love it. It makes third-party cables rather difficult, but it's not really that problematic. The pads themselves have this protein leather surrounding with this velvet interior and this bit that rests across the face, which is lovely, very comfortable. It's a wedge design, bigger at the back and thinner at the front, tilting the drivers forwards like speakers. And then these are the baffles and the back of the cups. These are absolutely gorgeous. It's screaming luxury stealth like its namesake across every inch of the headphones themselves. This is their flagship Vivo cables with these connectors we just mentioned here, with this spring-loaded action here. This one is obviously terminating in 4.4. This non-audiophonic fabric material is wrapped around the core, and quite honestly, it's a very nice cable. This cable will set you back $300 if you were to buy it, especially for these headphones or any of their other line of headphones. And in the sound section, we'll talk about this, and the equipment section. This is the Chord Hugo 2, and there's a reason why this is on the table, because with that, let's jump to the specifications and technicality of these world-class closed-back headphones, and I don't say that lightly. These are 23 ohms at 86 to 87 dB sensitivity. They are extraordinarily hard to drive. They are designed to be mobile, not portable. Even though it's a closed-back design for studio environment, engineers, and obviously people like us who are obsessed with audio, it's giving you one more avenue to isolate yourself from your surroundings, noisy neighbors, kids, family life, etc. Using their metal tuning, there's a barrier between the drivers themselves, which is their latest iteration of a single-sided planar driver at 72 by 50 millimeters, is this patent-pending design. Previously, with Mr. Speakers and Dan Clark audio headphones, you could tune the headphones and roll off and add some of the frequencies in the treble region with filters, like the Etherflow C from back in the day, 2.0, 2.1 variants. Now, such things are not necessary, because this barrier that's been designed to reside between the drivers and your eardrums. This is to dissipate standing waves. This is to dissipate peaks and valleys and nuances of bad audio that bounces around the cup. I mean, you've got to think of it like this. The drivers inside a closed back pair of headphones is a pair of speakers inside a room. And you've got to treat that room correctly, otherwise you really will throw off the frequency response, the tuning, etc. And without a doubt, this is the most open sounding closed back I've ever come across whilst reviewing headphones professionally. This does not sound like a closed back headphone. If you were to tell me that this is an open back headphone and I didn't look, I wouldn't know, because I have reviewed here many times headphones with a smaller stage and more claustrophobic sound than the Dan Clark Stealth closed-backs offer. There isn't a single bad resonance that showcases that this is a closed-back headphone. I have no idea how he has achieved this. This is magic. And I don't say that lightly. Over the last year, you guys know we have reviewed from the HE1 all the way down. We get pretty much every flagship headphone the market has to offer for review. And putting them up against each other, we are in a very fortunate position to be able to distinct, not just from memory, but do side-by-side testing. Going back to the specifications, features, etc. This headphone is driver matched to 0.25 dB up to 10 kilohertz. This is quite high. The tuning for this headphone is basically aligned with the Harman curve. And it's probably one of the best measuring headphones in this category I have seen. Let's talk about their drivability and who this is for. The Dan Clark Stealth genuinely can be used on the go. It can be, but you need superb equipment. And here at CMA, my Luxury and Precision P6 Pro failed. The Hugo 2 and To Go has been the best experience due to its drivability. Chord product seems to work very well. I've got the Dave back there, and on that it seems to do an incredible job as well. But as a rule, you've got to be careful about how you drive these. Extending a massive thank you to IFI for sending me the Diablo, because this was the best thing I think I could find under $1,000 portably to drive as an all-in-one for these Stealths. They are very hard to drive. But setting that aside, this is predominantly designed to be used in a studio, office, or a environment like this. The comfort of these headphones is the next thing we need to jump to. These headphones are luxurious feeling, isolating, very, very good to separate you from your environment. Not only that, they are exceptionally wearable, all day wearing, breathable, and you don't need to worry about weight. These are only 415 grams with superb weight distribution. I love this headband material, this spring. It's thin, it doesn't take up too much space, and this looks like it was sent from the future. With that, jumping into the sound quality of the DCA Stealth here. These beautiful, foldable, portable-esque, in quotes, planar headphones. These have been tuned very much akin to studio monitors. This basically means it tries to imbibe absolutely nothing from its characteristics in regards to the mix itself. With that, making it, without a doubt, the best headphones for mixing on the planet right now. I gave that mark to the Hifiman Susvaras, but due to its annoyance and synergy with equipment, I think that has to be revised now to the DCA Stealth. Its resolution, punch, dynamics, visceral impact, and bass response rivals a Hifiman Susvara on comparable equipment. But I think the scalability of Hifiman Susvaras might be a little bit more. The drivers feel as though it's a little bit quicker. These are the most open sounding closebacks I have ever heard. Honestly, if you told me that these were open backs, I would have believed you, because I have had a lot more open back headphones here at CMA that have sounded smaller and closer than the Stealths, genuinely, which was a bit of a shocker. We know Dan Clark knows how to make close-back headphones. I'm remembering my old Etherflow C days from yonks ago. So, the tuning of these Stealths are linear, lean, down the middle with a flat frequency response going up through the mid-range into the treble region. There seems to be some highlights in the treble region. Obviously, it can't be dead flat, obviously. That's not how tuning headphones and frequency response really works. There will be dips and curves along the way, but we are trying to get as linear as physically possible, like a studio monitor, like a pair of Genelec. And what I'm very fortunate to say about these headphones is that it sustains and keeps its musicality and engageability. It keeps its textural information and tactility for drum skins, for the audible nuances of metal strings versus nylon covered metal strings for guitars, etc. It gives the impression that you're watching the world around you in the late afternoon when the sun changes from orange to white and where everything is lit up. It genuinely feels as though you are not missing any element of sound within the soundscape of the track that's been mixed. From amplifier hum to gentle movements of people in their chairs in a live orchestra, everything is announced, and it's not under the microscope the way the Focal Utopia OG is. It's just natural. Genuinely, when you go back to certain other headphones like the LCD5 or the Verite Open or some of the others we have around it feels as though they feel a bit dull and dark and a bit lifeless. It's kind of that sort of sound signature, and yet it's not bright. It's neutral, natural. And its resolution is off the frickin' charts. And that's the sound characteristics of these headphones. And sub-bass digs extremely low using tracks from Hans Zimmer, double bass tracks. I'm going to link quite a few tracks for you guys to listen to showcase what we have been testing these headphones with. But with that, these might be some of the most adaptable, synergy-dependent, not codependent, but synergy-dependent headphones alongside the Hifiman Susvaras and the Ambient Acoustics Mad 24 in-ear monitors, because it sounds different on everything you put it on. So here I have tested it with the Questyle CMA 15 all-in-one, the Giella Pi being fed by the Chord Dave. The Chord Dave as an all-in-one using its own internal amplification. By the way, it drives it perfectly fine. And obviously the LTA Z10E Mia next to me. Also on the go, we have been using the IFI Diablo, the Hugo 2 and to go. Special thank you to Chord. Genuinely has been the only two in different price categories that can drive the Stealths on the go. These are very hard to drive at 86 dB sensitivity. The Luxury and Precision P6 Pro, my beast of a DAP, did not manage it. And it kills the battery, and it feels as though it's driving the amp too hard and it's gonna just destroy it. So I just never used it again past the first day. Honestly, beyond like 60 dB volume, my poor DAP just went, hey, what are you doing? I'm designed for IEMs, man. Just chill out. So the reason why I've laid out the equipment like this for you guys, because tonality wise, it seems to go in the scale of brightness, starting with CMA 15 being the most bright sounding. Obviously, I've stated that this is neutral. It's not a bright headphone, but that's the impression it gives. To the Pi next, slightly less, more of a liquid, neutral sort of soundscape. Moving over to the Dave, giving that black background, and then feels as though the actual sunset is slowly drifting away to twilight. In that sort of category, in this semicircle we have created here. So let's have a quick listen to the amazing Stealths on the CMA 15 first. Okay, using the Stealths on the CMA 15, it's that neutral soundscape, a bit analytical, a bit detail forward, and yet not so much where it feels in the uncanny valley of the scenario situation, but it's highlighting like the detail aspects of the song. So you literally feel as though you're seeing the elements of sound move across the stage, the edges of the subtleness of fingers moving across the fretboard of the guitar, the slight nuances of incorrect mic pickups and things like that usually, and the highlighted nuances of filters, echoes, reverbs, and elements that have been added to the track. And yet it all sounds very natural. It all sounds very well placed, and the dynamic range honestly improves with equipment. It's quite hard to get decent dynamics out of this, but once you do on very high-end equipment like we have here, absolutely no issue whatsoever. And with that amp, I would say it's the least non-fatiguing out of all of these, and yet I can listen to it for 3 or 4 hours without any problems. It's as if you're in the room and all the lights are on. Basically, that sort of soundscape. It's a bright sound signature, and yet the headphones are not bright, it's neutral. But versus some of my preferences that I'm used to on a regular basis, like LCD5, even that's a bit too much, maybe Atrium or Binomial, it feels as though it's bright in comparison to those. This is more in the territory of like say HD800 without that horrible peak, though that is a diffused sound characteristic tuning. This isn't. This is just highlighting. It's like looking through a crystal clear glass window. Let's move over to the Pi. This is now being fed by the Chord Dave. On the Giella Pi, this little baby here, absolutely insane little palm-sized amplifier, drives it perfectly well. It's very tactile, yet it's less bright leaning than the Questyle CMA 15. We're now slowly heading towards the evening time where the light is behind the clouds, yet it's still very bright and everything's highlighted beautifully. Sub bass is visceral, impactful, texturally rich. That's the one thing I will say about this headphone. It's got fantastic textural information. Stage is good. I wouldn't say it's the biggest stage we've had here on the Pi, but the stage is good, even though the Dave stage is ultra wide. Fantastic performance. Honestly, if you have that amplifier, I don't think you're gonna have any problems, whether it's acoustic you're listening to or EDM or orchestra. But I think for orchestra, I would prefer a touch more stage in the width and in the depth, and that's where the next one comes in. We swap over to the Chord Dave. internal amplification, obviously, and it drives it superbly well. When we use the Chord Dave as the main amplifier and DAC for this headphone, far away information is more thrown into relief. It's distinct, it's noticeable, the stage opens up before you and widely. The background, now the sun has set, it's a bit more of a darker sound signature, but yet everything's lit up beautifully. So that's what I meant about this headphone being able to showcase the highlights and the strengths of equipment, because on that you definitely get a much blacker background, much richer textural information, far better edge of attack, far better placement within the stage, and far more dynamics. Obviously the Dave separation is fantastic, it's one of the best, and it definitely throws it into sharp relief. But finally, let's go on to the best system we have here, the Chord Dave beating the LTA Z10E, powered by Supernova power cables and the IFI power station. This is our big boy setup now. Chakram-free interconnects, obviously. Okay, instantaneously, we are dialing down that pitch black background now. It's a bit more lighter in the background, most definitely. But the stage is opened up. This is a completely different experience than all of the other ones we've just had. Visceral impact is, everything's more defined. Everything feels as though it's the bigger boy version of itself. Drums feel as though it's realistic, it's weighted, it's heavy, it's texturally rich. Now, using Pirates of the Caribbean Live from Hans Zimmer, this is where the stage is opening up and this headphone feels as though it's definitely not a close back, and I think you could fool people with it. Depth information, every instrument being highlighted within its own stage and field is noticeable. Far away information is very prominent. This is where it's getting into the territory of, okay, I'm going toe to toe with Hifiman and Susvaras, and I'm not going down without a fight. This is where Stealth shines on true high-end equipment, because make no mistake, this headphone is a super flagship headphone. Not just a flagship where Utopia sits and where D8000 Pro and stuff sits. This is a super flagship headphone in the realms of Hifiman and Susvara's Binomial AB1266TC. Well done, Dan Clark Audio. This genuinely is the best closeback headphone I've had here at CMA, and I think we've pretty much done all apart from the Hifiman one. I think we're pretty much there now. This market is already very sparse. I wish there were more in the flagship to super flagship category of closebacks, and the ones that there are, there's always caveats like Stellia and Liric. This is above those. This is far more technical than those. This is a natural sounding, flat frequency response, studio monitors with musicality soundscape. But with that, we need to discuss the caveats. The caveats of the DCA Stealth is the following. Don't be fooled by the portability and foldability of this headphone, which just goes like this. This requires a very, very good piece of equipment to make it sound its best on the go. And this is where, even though it's in the caveat section, this comes in. The Chord Hugo 2 and To Go. That genuinely has been the best experience I have had on the go, but it's a mobile station. It's not pocketable. It's more office, train, long journey, but you will get 20 Hertz and above. You will get the 90 90% of capability of the headphones on normal equipment, and probably 80% compared to super flagship stuff like LTA, Z10E and Dave and stuff. So it does a fantastic job. In the other caveat section, under $1,000, I don't think as an all-in-one there is a single thing like Diablo that could power the Stealths, and where it suffers unfortunately is in the bass response. And that brings me to the next part about this. The DCA Stealth has an issue. This is the way you seal the headphones on your head. I'm not talking about letting air gaps and stuff kind of not be there. I'm talking about, even though it's sealed on your head, but if it's not sealed the right way, like moving it slightly this way or that way, depending on your head shape, genuinely will roll off the sub bass by 2 or 3 dB. So for me, I have to have it slightly tilted forward, make sure that there is no break in the seal here, and it's perfect. It's kind of strange. I don't quite know if there is a part of these headphones that needs to be sealed or broken to work out that exact perfect scenario for the sub bass. But as a rule, for me now, once you get used to that, it's like the AB1266TC. Once you work it out, you'll know exactly when it's right. And then the sub bass digs, like for double bass or for electronic synth sub bass, you will know when it's lacking and when it's definitely there. Because when it's there, this thing goes low, and it goes low without distortion, audible distortion. It's clean, clear and transparent. So that is one more thing to bear in mind. So you need very high-end equipment to drive this properly, even though it's designed as, I would say this is mobile. I wouldn't say this is portable, but for testing equipment, for mixing, for mastering, let's move on to the conclusion in that scenario. Mixing, mastering, reference sound, studio monitors with musicality, high-end equipment. It's genuinely, I think, the world's best closeback until something else beats it here at CMA. This thing is exceptional, and I've only got that one from Hifiman to do, and I think we're pretty much there. This thing is a beast. Absolutely incredible. If you can cope with some of those caveats, sound quality, 5 tigers out of 5. Build quality, look at this. And the foldability and mobile nature of this, I'm definitely keeping one of these around for Munich high-end and for shows to test DACs and amps. You can be sure. Build quality, 5 tigers out of 5. Price to performance ratio in this category. This is very difficult to do because that's very subjective. For me personally, 5 tigers out of 5. The Dan Clark custom connection of the cables, this might annoy some people, this might not. This could be problematic because this was the cable that was provided to me for the review. It's 1 meter, it was a bit short, but I didn't have any other cable here to test, to swap it out with. So bear that in mind. It is what it is, 4 tigers out of 5. Overall, Dan Clark Stealth, 4 solid tigers out of 5. Absolutely fantastic. So impressed. So impressed. If you like reviews such as these, consider joining Patreon, where you get early reviews, access to the private Telegram chat where I tell you what equipment has come in, give you my first impressions as we learn on the job, and you see early reviews before anyone else. If that is beyond your means, please, your like, your share is all I require from you. So in the comment section down below, let me know. Do you have these headphones? What do you think of these headphones? How has it been for you, including that bass response scenario? Let's discuss. I will see you down there in a moment. Till next time.